Have you ever met Miss Lindy? She's a gal with the bright red hair. Now she stands high from all the rest. You know her anywhere. Well, she's mine. Yeah, she's mine. Well, I love that little girl with the bright red hair.
All right, welcome everybody. So we're here for another Banter Blitz session. I'm fresh off of playing in the Banter Blitz Cup, which I qualified for by playing with a few guys in the qualifiers, but unfortunately I lost to Wesley So in round one. But I'm looking forward to playing some interesting games with some good people. So let's see. Okay, that's a brilliant name. Magnus is a Kasparov wannabe. I think we have to play with that. So good luck to you, Magnus is a Kasparov wannabe. Let's see how this goes. D4. Okay, so I'm going to play my semi-Slav repertoire that I did a course on Chessable about, and we'll see if anybody can do any damage to me. All right, Magnus is a Kasparov wannabe. I think C5 is supposed to be the move here. I'm pretty sure this was covered. C3. Okay, I probably should just exchange. I should probably play an exchange Slav here, but that'd be a bit boring, so I'm going to play E6. And let's go bishop d6. I think this is the new trendy way people are playing against the London of not developing this knight on b8 so early. So, and now we'll be able to play for knight c6 and e5 and take some share of the center. I could have certainly transposed back to my repertoire with the exchange Slav, and I stand by the work I did there. I certainly don't believe black is worse or anything, but well, it would have been an exchange Slav, and I think this is more fun. So here I think I'm already a little bit more comfortable because of my big central space, but realistically white should be fine, but the space should help a little bit. So bishop g4, and now this pin is a little annoying for white. It's not like I'm going to go murder him in 2 moves, but it's hard to break without letting his pieces become a bit passive. So let's go rook a d8 to overprotect the d5 pawn, which will let me play knight e4 and potentially launch an attack next. So now that I've said that, I have to follow through, but it does look like a good move to me. And if I'm allowed to play knight g5, that will be very dangerous for white, or queen f6 for that matter. He should probably play h3 here, but okay, rook d1. Now knight g5 feels very powerful. I'm just wondering if he can play like queen d3 in response. I don't think so. I have bishop takes f3 and it's not hanging. So let's go knight g5, and if I can play queen f6 next, white is certainly busted. But let's see. There's also some comments on the other side. I'm going to do my best to read them, but I'm not going to interact with YouTube comments. Sorry, guys. But for comments on the Chess24, would like to know about your d4 part 2 course. Will I go for 3 knight c3 or 3 knight f3? I assume you mean against e6, not against g6, but I will be going for knight f3. I believe that's a more challenging move. It's going to be more demanding than a lot of the other stuff you might see, but I do think it's a more challenging move, and I've already started work on it. In any case, in the meantime, in this game, I think that Magnus is a Kasparov wannabe is going down because I believe I will get to his king. So knight takes f3, if g f3, bishop f3, and this, I believe, is mate. very quickly. So let's see, yeah, so queen g5, and then that will be the end. So good game to Magnus is a Kasparov wannabe. I like your account name. So let's see, who else wants to play with me? Anyone else? Who have we got? Maybe somebody with a high rating. Do we have any of those here? Okay, we have somebody, an FM from Tokelau, someplace I've never heard of. Tokelau. Okay. All right. So let's play d4 and see if I can. Let's see if he plays a sideline and I can do something from my chessable course. Because I did chessable course parts 1, 2, and 3 on d4. Part 1 is going to be sidelines. Part 2 is the Indian games with knight f6 on the first move, and that's what I'm currently working on. And part 3 is d5. So we'll see if this guy plays a sideline and I can play my course. If he plays a main line, I haven't published that stuff yet, and I haven't finished or even started the d4, d5 stuff. But I'm going to give it 5 more seconds to make a move before 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, abort. So unfortunately, that one. Let's see. Anybody else wants to play? Let's play with Elo-quent. That's a clever name. Okay, Elo-quent. Let's have a good game. All right, so let's see if he plays a sideline. No, not yet. Okay, so I'll play knight f3, and we'll probably get, yeah, okay. So we're getting to some mainline stuff. I guess I'll play knight c3, 3 knights, queen's gambit, and if he plays my semi-Slav repertoire, I won't know what to do, so let's see. He does play the semi-Slav repertoire. All right, I'm gonna do something that's not great, but let's just see if this is not a fantastic move, but we'll see if he knows how to deal with it. If he bought the course, he would know. I actually got this variation against Alan Pichot in the Banter Blitz series, but I got a very good position from the opening, but ended up losing the game. So it's a little bit more dangerous than it looks, but I think that b6 was a big mistake. Maybe not like big mistake, but I think black would have been much better advised taking on c4 and then playing b5, because here he sort of got this problem that the bishop on c8 is stuck and the knight on b8 is stuck because of the moves c6 and e6. And the whole point of those moves was to threaten d takes c4, which would either win a pawn, drag my queen out like it could have if he had taken it, or force me to play e3, blocking in my bishop. But in general, I think if white can develop his bishop outside the pawn chain like I have, and then play e3 while saving the c4 pawn and nothing bad happens to him, he should be better. And so here I believe I should have a slight advantage. That said, my queen on b3 is a little bit funky, but it's probably not such a big deal. So I'm going to start with bishop d3 now. I'm not thrilled about losing a tempo on this, but you know, what can you do? If he takes on c4, I should probably take with the queen, which is a little awkward looking, but probably not so bad. So knight bd7, I think it's a good time to take on d5 now, because if he takes back with the c-pawn to reach an exchange Slav structure, he will no longer have the c6 square for his knight, which is something that I'm quite happy about. What's the main thing I did while working on my chess to become a 2700 plus when I was 2600 plus? Well, I'm not 2700 anymore, although I think that has more to do with my life falling apart and my hand getting slashed open in the middle, right before 3 major events. But in general, I would just say I had faith that the training I was doing was going to eventually pay off. In chess and in life, if you work hard at something, you usually will succeed, but it will take longer than you'd like. I think that's just the nature of human existence, and something that we have to accept. And so I believe that it was mainly just hard work paying off that I had done before. I don't think I changed anything up. I just think I kept working, kept believing in myself, and that training hard would eventually pay off, and it certainly did at some point. But yeah, here's so. Ooh, did I just miss a tactic? Yeah, while I was talking, I missed this tactic from Elo-quent. This looks like interesting because now, Actually, wait. Rook takes b7, rook c1 check, king e2, rook takes h1, knight e5. What's black going to play? Rook d8, knight c6, and then I'm good to go. Yeah, I think I can take this bishop. At first I thought I had blundered something, but he will sideline his rook like this, and I should be able to win the knight. But I just have to figure out the best way to do it, because if knight e5, queen g5 is maybe some counterplay, I could just go bishop b5 here, and then the queen doesn't get anywhere useful. That's probably prudent. I'm going to start with queen a4, I think, is the best way. And now, did I just blunder knight c5? Man, I'm blundering everything today. Oh boy. Alright, I might just lose this game. I blundered knight c5. What a knucklehead. I should have played bishop b5 first, of course, or just knight e5, and I think I would have been in good shape, but here I have blundered knight c5. It's still not over, though. After knight c5, rook takes e7, knight takes a4, and knight g5. I'm going to attack his kingside pretty hard. So it's not like I'm just dead, but this has clearly gone very, very wrong compared to what I would have liked. We'll see if he finds knight c5. And why didn't I just go bishop b5 or knight e5 like a normal person? Oh well. No, he might not find it, but let's see. He's burning a lot of time. Okay, he found it, so yeah, I did blunder this because I was talking too much, but let's see if I can make any trouble for him. I can definitely make a mess out of this, but I don't know if that will be enough to save me. He has like rook h2 and then knight f7, rook g2 or something, and it looks pretty bad. But I don't think it's hopeless. That move, I think, is a mistake, because now I can take the h7 pawn too, and the f7 pawn, and now I'm taking all of his stuff. So bishop g6, and now I think I've survived this. So yeah, this was a careless blunder, but I believe now I'm taking his stuff back and we're good to go. It was a big mistake for black to take on b2. He really needed to save the h7 pawn with rook takes h2, because now this is not working for black. Because if king d8, I have rook f8 at the bare minimum. And then, I don't know, king e7, rook takes a8, king f6, and knight e6 or something, and I take way too many pawns. Okay, so rook d8, this is made into after rook g7 and knight e6. Okay, so good game, Elo-quent. You had a real chance there, but I think it was things started to go wrong. Okay, so who else wants to play? Let's play with Pinos Floga. So, good luck to you, Pinos Floga. Okay, so c4, c6. Is that Uruguayan flag? No, it's Greece. So let's see if I can play my trustable repertoire again and remember anything useful. So dc, castle, I think knight bd7 is the move now. a4 first. It's a little unusual. I'm tempted to try to punish white, but we're going to go with a5 and be a bit more sedate. So we'll do something like this. Queen c2 and now g6. And what I was saying in the trustable course was that in this position here, I believe that in general, white would be better if these pawns on a2 and a4 were, or a4 and a5 were back on their starting squares, but because of the weakness of the b4 square, I believe that I'm good with, I will get the knight to d5, and that should give me a fair amount of counterplay. So here, maybe I should start with bishop e6. Seems like a decent idea. Attack this queen. And the weakness of the b4 and b3 squares can become quite annoying for white. For example, queen c2, I'm thinking I will play queen b6 and try to highlight that this b3 square is weak as well as b4. And I think that I have totally fine position, but it's all because of these pawns. Like if the pawns were back where they would be on their starting squares, I would think white would be better. So he got e4 through, but I don't really think that will be that problematic for me. So Let's see, if I go queen b3, they'll probably play queen b1. Let's just go rook fd8. It's not easy for white to keep everything under control. So now let's go queen b3 and try to highlight the weakness of these key squares. I think he sort of has to play queen b1 now, and then I can play knight g4 and start attacking his stuff. But yeah, like if I had to play queen back to c7 because I didn't have the b3 and b4 squares, I would think white would be better. But these pawns being on a4 and a5 are tremendously helpful. I suppose he could trade queens here and play knight d2, but that also doesn't look wildly scary to me. So he does play queen b1, and my thought here was knight g4 looked pretty good, and I will get the d4 pawn. So I should have filled my water bottle earlier. Now I'm going to need it later. All right, so bishop d2. He makes the right decision to give up the pawn, but give himself a dangerous bishop. But I mean, I think in for a penny, in for a pound, I've got to take this pawn. And I still think my position is pretty good. Like his bishop on c3 will be decent, but I mean, rook takes a4 comes, I'm 2 pawns up. When my knight sits on f6, it's kind of hard to imagine myself actually getting mated. I think he has reasonable compensation for like 1 pawn, but not for 2. 2 is going to be too many here, I think. We'll see, I don't know. He can play like, if queen d3, I have bishop c4, but now then queen d4, e5, and I'm good. So, I mean, he should try to take the d file or do something, but okay. So queen c1, this is not a subtle move. He wants to try to get to h6 or something and mate me that way, but I don't really believe it. Like, you cannot put the queen on h6. Queen g5, I guess, is a little annoying, but I can always play f6 and kick her away. So I'm going to take the d file while I still can. And if he goes like h3, knight f6, and queen h6, I don't really think I'm going to get mated here. So this seems pretty safe. And 2 pawns is very good. I'll just use this knight on f6. It's like a glorified pawn. And try to hold things together that way. At some point, I can play b5, b4 to destabilize that bishop. Okay, so g4. He wants to play g5 to kick my knight, but I don't think that's very scary because that will lock his queen out of the game. Let's go b5 and get ready to kick this bishop a bit. If g5, I can probably take on e4 because then his queen will not get to h6. Okay, so bishop f6, sure. Oh, did I just blunder a pawn? I did, but I actually think it's still a good decision because now I'm a clean pawn up and I'm completely safe. So let's start with king g7, just get off of any dangerous squares. So I didn't see that he could take my pawn, but I'm actually quite happy to have sacrificed it because now my king is 100% safe and there's absolutely no counterplay. So we go rook d2 or rook d1. I guess he wants to play e5 in both cases, but let's go rook d. Okay, rook d2. Trade. I was thinking rook d1 made some sense too, but if he goes e5, I can play, for example, queen d4, and then my thought was after ef6, queen f6, queen a5, and queen b2, that I'm a clean pawn up and his rook is stuck on f1 because of the threat of taking on f2, and I thought this, especially with my b pawn running to b3 and like 2 more moves, this looks routinely winning. How am I keeping myself in shape chess-wise during the pandemic? Well, I'm trying to train like I always do. It's harder to keep yourself motivated to like do hard exercises when there's no classical events and you do calculation work and that, you know, I'll spend 10 minutes on a position when basically every tournament I game, I'm lucky if I get 10 minutes for the whole game, much less a single move. It's hard to stay motivated, especially when I'm more of a classical player than a blitz one, but I just try to do the same thing. I try to stay in shape, stay healthy, do exercises, prepare deep opening ideas, and not like tricky little blitz things. But I do my best. But all right, I'm mating this guy now. So queen b4 and yeah. So I think this game was a good example of how the weaknesses of the b2 and b3 squares sort of made White's position less attractive than it otherwise would have been. I don't think White was like worse or anything right away, but I was happier that way. Okay, let's play with Blunder Panda. All right, Blunder Panda, let's see what you got for me. I guess I'll start with d4 and see if I can play the chessable course. I can't. All right, so c4. Let's play. Let's see if this guy wants a semi-Slav as well. We'll go knight c3. Okay, so I'll play this stupid queen b3 move again, see if this guy knows what to do. I don't think that's supposed to be great. So let's see if I go bishop. No, well, no, that should be fine. He will get some kind of improved Cambridge Springs, but here, if queen b6 and a Cambridge Springs doesn't feel right. I mean, the whole point is I think that if I can get bishop g5 and e3, White should be better, as long as nothing like direct happens to me. And I think that's sort of the case here. So, like, unless there's something very direct that's about to happen, which I don't think there is. I mean, I'm looking at bishop d3. He can play knight e4 then, but I don't really believe in it. This should be better for me. And the whole point of the Cambridge Springs, the way I was playing, was that you're like fighting for the bishop pair. You're starting to take pawns or make trouble for White before he like completes his development. But yeah, this position here I think should be very comfortable for White. If I get to castle, I should be in great shape. So I should take with the queen on c4, I think, because if I take with the bishop, then knight e4 is a bit annoying. But queen takes c4, and now I think Black will have regretted sort of this bishop b4 doesn't. I mean, unless you do something very direct to like cause me real problems, bishop b4 is not the right square for this bishop. And now the queen on b6 feels misplaced too. And I think White is going to be much better in just a couple moves if I'm allowed to castle and play like e4, e5 or something. So we'll see what this fellow comes up with. And when I play queen b3, he could have taken on c4 directly and dragged my queen to c4 at a moment where he could have gained a lot of time with b5, but because he has only taken on c4 now, it's a bit late. Okay, so c5, let's castle, and I think my lead in development should count for something here. If c takes d4, I think knight b5 might win on the spot, or at least be very good for White. So bishop c3, but it's now bc, and I have a big center, and this is looking very, very bad for Black. So I'm tempted to play for mate with some kind of e4, e5, but I think the most prudent decision is to put rooks on the open files. And I got the c file first, and I have the bishop pair in a big center, and this looks probably close to hopeless for Black already, actually, strategically speaking. It's very hard for him to make a move. So h6, fine. I guess now he can maybe try knight d5 since e4 he is ready with knight f4, but I still think like knight d5, rook a b1 or a4 or something, and I don't really see what he's accomplishing. All right, so we'll start with rook a b1. Where does this queen want to go? I guess queen a5 is sort of forced, but then like a4 and the queen is almost trapped. No, but then I will drop my a4 pawn to some knight b6. Queen d6. Okay, so let's attack her again. And by doing it this way, I've also now taken control of the f4 square, so I'm ready to play e4 next. So let's go ahead and do it. And if he has to bring the knight to b6, then it's going to take like a million years for his bishop to ever get out. So he should probably play knight back to f6, but it also doesn't look glorious, to say the least. Yeah, because here my thought was after, say, queen b3, like, how does this bishop on c8 ever move? And I'm ready with rook c7 next to increase the pressure, or even a4, a5. And good on you, Siddhartha Chess, for advertising for me. I should probably shamelessly spam a link in there when I have it, but Okay, so let's go rook c7 and smash the c file. Just a second, guys. I'm spamming a link here to everybody to get them here. There we go. Spammed the link in there. All right. So what do I do now? I guess h3. I don't really want my rook on the bishop on g3 to be exchanged. So I'll play h3 to clear a square, and black can barely move any of his pieces. I could have played bishop d6 there even, but well, bishop d6 isn't going anywhere. Bishop d7, let's attack it with knight e5. I don't know why I'm not just taking his rook with bishop d6, but I'm feeling like playing a strategic game for whatever reason. Now rook e7 is about to trap his queen if he's not careful. Alright, let's just take the queen at this point. It's probably good enough. Is the course discount as a promotion? I don't actually know, but it's good value either way. I put a lot of work into it, and I busted all of the sidelines. When's my next big tournament? That would be US Championship, the online version, which is coming up at the end of the month. Yeah, so here I think I have this game more or less locked up. Okay, so good game, Blunder Panda. I think you could have handled that Semislav a little better, and buying my course might have done that for you. So who else wants to play with me? Let's see. There's someone with a very big rating. Maybe he'll teach me something. Oh, and it's even 3+2, so I won't be able to flag him or vice versa. All right, Swarnapuri, teach me something about chess. Your rating is massive. 5, 4, 3, 2. Made it just in time. All right, let's play the Trussables repertoire. Let's see if I can make any trouble for white here. C3 in this position? I think I'm supposed to go bishop f5. I remember this being in the course. And so now it's e6, and knight f3, queen b6. Yeah, I remember this. Here, c4, and take. And I think the whole point of starting with bishop f5 was that here I'm able to take over some key squares and not let him play queen c2. So I guess let's go b5, and I think I should have a very healthy position here. I'll start with bishop e7 so that he cannot play like any knight h4 business. And then, all right, so let's go h6. What do you mean? Am I going to release a true Semislav course? I did. I mean, what do you think it was that I released previously? All right. So here, if he takes, I think knight e5 is a clever move from white because he does not want to let me get my knight around to a4, but so knight d7 to b6 is like a pretty sensible idea for me. All right, so bishop f3, this is not a subtle move at all. He clearly wants to play e4. I'm just thinking how I want to prepare for that. Do I care? Maybe a bit. I could take on e5. Let's take on e5. This feels like a good decision. So he'll play bishop e5, and then after knight d7, if he moves this bishop away, I have a very interesting option to play f5 and give myself the world's worst bishop, but it's such a closed position that I think that it's probably not so bad. So here he could play e4, but my thought was I would have some combination of take and bishop g5 or something, and it should be pretty good for black. So bishop f4. All right, so I'm going to play f5 and give myself the world's worst bishop. But at the same time, it's not so easy. I mean, the position is very closed, and eventually it's not like his bishop on f3. It might look nicer, but I don't actually think it's doing that much more. And at some point, my pieces will get better. So let's start with, I guess, rook fc8 is fine. So he wants to bring the bishop to c2. I guess that makes sense. I'm going to start with king f7. And get my pieces to reasonable squares, or at least try to. Okay, f3. So this is sort of advertising that he would like to play e4, which is not the stupidest thing. I'm going to start by poking his rook, and then, depending on where it goes, make up my mind next. So he went to f1. I suppose that is sensible. Let's say I go bishop back to d8. And if he plays e4, I'm thinking maybe I can play g5, f4. And then, I mean, this is pretty boring and closed, but I think black is very much fine, but I have to maybe pick up the pace a bit. All right, so e4, let's go g5. And I was thinking once f4 comes, it's probably going to be pretty reasonable for me. But a position like this one sort of highlights why I was happy to have kicked this rook off of e1. Because if he could play a move like e takes d5, that would not have been desirable for me. All right, so f4, let's kick this bishop again. And now I'm thinking how I want to handle this, but I think I should take on e4 and play e5. That feels like the thematic response, so I'm going to do it. Take and d5. And I like my pawn chain, but it's still totally unclear position. Or maybe it isn't unclear. Maybe I'm just getting killed. That was dumb. Oh well, let's go king e8. If he plays d5, I should probably just take it and sacrifice an exchange and land my knight on d3. Okay, knight f3. I'll take on d4, I guess. But this feels very unclear to me. Like, maybe I'm just totally misunderstanding the position and I'm getting killed and I'm too stupid to realize it, but this doesn't feel that bad for black to me. Bishop takes d4, so I cannot play bishop b6. But let's say I go like rook c6 to prepare for bishop b6 next. Like, why is this so bad? It doesn't look terrible. I can also play knight c5 next. But this guy's playing pretty well. I mean, he has a big rating. It's not too surprising, I guess. Oh, yeah, I just blundered. That changes the nature of the game. But even this, like, is this that terrible for me? I stick my bishop on e7, and what's the big deal? Like, his rooks are so bad. Just, I mean, I don't know. I've always been known to overestimate my positions. I do have some Kramnikitis in that regard, but maybe this isn't so terrible. Okay, so g3. If I take it, he has rook f8, so let's not do that. Let's go bishop c7. e5. I could start with bishop d3. I could start with rook f8. I could start with c5. Let's go rook f8 is probably the most prudent. I don't think this is clear at all. My bishop is about to land on d3. So sure, let's go bishop d3 before anything else, and then rook f5 comes next, let's say. And I don't think this is clear at all. King g2, sure. Okay, so if king d5, e6 is probably an issue, so let's gain further space with h5. Could be a move. c5 is probably too much. Let's gain space with h5. I'm getting outplayed here, but I don't think this is the end of the world. Maybe it is if I blunder like that. But is this so bad? Yeah, probably. Okay, gotta do what you gotta do. And take this one, take this one. If he takes on g5, then I thought I would have a fair amount of counterplay. But so he goes this way, let's go bishop d8. If he takes this, even this is just not that easy. Like once I get my pawn to h3, like this feels like I should hold. So check first. Where does the king go? There, bishop back to e7, my pawn will get to h3, and it's very, very hard for him to make any progress. And I don't think this is that terrible. Okay, so rook g1, let's go, I guess, king f7. Where's the invasion? All right, sure. So back here, rook e1, let's go like bishop c5, I guess. Rook d1, back to e7. d2. Okay, are you trying to zoot swing me or something? King f3, king e6, rook d1. Let's go king f7. G1, bishop d8. If bishop g5, I always have h2. Really? h2 now? Now I'm gonna win. Yeah, so now I should be winning pretty routinely. The bishop coming to c1 is not messing around. So let's bring it there. Take this one. Yeah, okay, so now I just have to finish him off, but that shouldn't be too hard. So check first, the king can't go to the second rank, so let's start with something like this. Check here. Okay, and now the king comes around to a4. That should do it. And his king has like no squares. So here, king comes to a4. And his king is completely cut off. So I got a bit fortunate this game. I definitely shouldn't have won it, but at the same time, I think even this exchange down position, I don't think I was lost. I think it was, if he could have won, it would have been very difficult. So let's see who else wants to play. Anybody new here? Anybody with a clever name? Let's see. All right, let's play with Knight Fighter. That one, after this last stressful game, maybe can play someone a little bit less challenging. All right, e4. So let's play the Sicilian and play something fun. Okay, so I'm going to play a dragon because it was the weapon of my youth, and, well, I've gotten too arrogant in my ability to not get checkmated, and, well, maybe we'll see if I get checkmated here. Okay, so f3. And now, yeah, I'm going to not play a real dragon and instead play a6. Okay, so queen d2, let's go h5, I think is the move to stop bishop h6 and stop g4. And this is a pretty silly line for black, but it's fun and it's blitz, so. The whole point is I'm going to delay castling for a bit and hopefully develop my pieces pretty fast with b5 and bishop b7. All right, so let's go b5. I don't think knight c6 is such a big deal. That's another reason not to castle, is that if he plays knight c6 here after queen c7, I'm not hanging on e7. But it's actually not that hard for white's position to become a little bit uncomfortable in this variation. Black's coordination is very good, and white should be pretty violent, I think, and king b1 is not a violent move. Yeah, but even still here, I think white should be very, very much fine. All right, so g3, I don't really get the point. Maybe he wants to play h3 and then g4, but even that doesn't scare me so much. I'm going to go rook c8 and knight e5 and start trying to attack the center. So rook d1, let's go knight e5, I guess. My pieces look pretty good all of a sudden. Okay, f4. Now you've woken me up. So b4. Not quite working. I'm tempted to try to make some kind of mess, but I think knight c4 is the prudent decision. I will take with the rook, and then the e4 pawn is going to be very hard to maintain. He probably should take on c4 and play e5 and just make a huge mess and hope for the best. I don't think it should work, but I don't really think he has a choice. Okay, that one. Oh man, my mommy told me never to leave somebody with an unopposed dragon bishop. So I'm going to see if she was right. Take. And then what do we do now? I don't really want to take c3. That bolsters the d4 knight. That's just castle. I'm not particularly scared of getting mated anymore because I have the dark squared bishop alone. Rook g1, am I missing something, or is knight g4 a piece? The whole point was the queen doesn't have the g1 square. Alright, let's do it. Yeah, so that's a knight. Okay, so I got this one as well. Interesting game, but I think I have this under control. The Dragendorf strikes, which is, I don't know, Dragendorf. According to Yermolinsky, I think that's a mythical creature from the Harry Potter series, the Dragendorf. But it's also not so great opening. All right, so let's sack on c3, and then I should be able to bring the queen in and give mate. All right, Night Fighter. Sorry to say, I think I got you this time. Okay, so good game, Night Fighter. Let's see who else wants to play. Ooh, another 3,000. Let's see if I can learn something again. Or I might just get flagged because there's no increment and it's 3 minutes. But okay, let's see if he plays a d4 sideline. If he does, I'll be able to showcase something. But no, it's a main line. Right, so knight f3. Let's go knight c3. Bishop e7, and I don't know, what am I supposed to do here? Let's take on d5. I checked this recently. It's pretty stupid, but it's sort of worth a try. In general, the structure after CD, ED, is very much fine for black if he can get his bishop to f5 before I get my bishop to d3. But in this case, it's hard for him to do that because bishop f5 is frequently met with g4, and that was my whole point of playing h3. Okay, so c6, let's go e3. And then I'll start throwing g4 at him and see if this causes any trouble. So bishop g6, I guess I'll go attack it. If I play h4 next, that bishop is actually almost trapped. I mean, h4 is going to get very messy very fast, but let's do it. I mean, he's probably going to sacrifice a piece in some way and like try to throw knight e4, bishop b4 at me to some degree, and this is going to be very scary, but I think I might be able to hang on and keep the material. I could have certainly taken on g6, which would have been a much more sedate way of playing, and white may well have been slightly better, but this seems like it could be fun, so I'm going to give it a try. Udem representativo address says go shelling. Why? Why don't people like me? That's not very nice. Okay, h5, that's a very good sign for me. So if I take on g6, I've ruined his structure and I'm ready to play g5. And this is very, I mean, unless black can do something very, very direct, and I don't believe he can, the structure should be really bad for him. Like if he has to play knight e8 or something and I go bishop d3, it's going to be so hard to defend g6. And this is going to fall apart pretty fast. I mean, I'm thinking about knight g4, but bishop h3, and I'm ready to take on g4. Okay, knight h7, so now bishop d3, and how do you save g6? This looks almost lost already. Okay, so sacrificing is absolutely the right decision, but I also don't think it will save him. my king is completely safe, and like let's say I just go f5, and then, or hang on. So I don't really want to let him play bishop d6 and attack my stuff. I should at least pay a little attention here. So f5, take g6, bishop h3, and then his pieces are stuck, and I'm safe as can be. So he goes for queen b6. I guess that makes some sense, but I don't think that's wildly scary either. I guess I can play queen e2 and attack his bishop, and I'm ready to potentially castle either side. Rook e8. Oh, now if I castle long, he has bishop g5. That's a blunder. All right, let's just go king f1 and keep safe. Okay, so now rook e1 comes, and I think I have this bishop pinned pretty well. Oh, but bishop c5, I just blundered that. Oh man, blundering everything. Bishop c5 is very powerful here. I will have to play something extremely ugly, but he missed it, so I have a second chance at life. So scary stuff. Bishop takes f5, bishop c5 again is very good. So bishop f5, bishop c5, queen f3. Does he have a move there? Or maybe queen c2. I don't see it. I think I have to not let him play g6. All right, so bishop c5, queen c2, and I don't see the move here. I think I have this under control. I mean, it looks very scary. I could just be missing something and mated, but I don't see it, at least not yet. Okay, so where do I play now? I guess king f1 is a thought. Get the king closer to a safe area. g6. Does that trap my bishop? Certainly would be a shame. I can play bishop c8. That's a bad sign if I have to, but all right, let's go bishop c8. Gotta do what you gotta do. Knight d3, sure. So knight d1, and then queen e4, and I lose. Rook h2 is a very sad move, but maybe prudent. Let's see what happens. I've played very badly this game. I should have been routinely winning early, and I just sort of lost focus and misplayed it. So queen f4, if rook g2, does he have a killer? I don't see it. I mean, it might be there, but... All right, well, I'm way low on time. Okay, I got to speed up. All right, knight e2, attack the queen. And the bishop on c5. 3, kick the queen again. 4. Yeah, I'm playing way too slowly here. I could have taken that with the bishop. Oh well. Anyhow, here I still have a pretty good position by some miracle. I'm too slow. I'm gonna get flagged. But what can you do here? Yeah, I think I've actually got a very nice position now, and probably I'm actually close to winning. But I'm gonna get flagged, so it doesn't matter. So here I was winning at the end, but with knight takes d4. He didn't have to play c4, but I don't know. I knew I would get flagged with such a fast time control, but that's how it goes. To a point, I was doing very well. I think even in the end, I was outplaying him. All right, so let's see. It's dangerous rides. You can play with you. Let's see, 3 minutes, I'm definitely going to get flagged a lot, but why am I playing knight f6? I should be playing the Slav. So semi-Slav again. Let's see if this guy can cause me any problems. All right, so knight d7 and queen a5. My first thing should be, can I even remember what I'm supposed to play in a lot of these game lines, but we'll see. Yeah, I shouldn't play the 3-minute ones. I should just do 5, but I guess it's nice to see me lose some games too, even if it's on the clock rather than the board. c5. That does not look like a good move. All right, let's play knight e4. That might have been a mouse slip. He might have wanted to play cd. c2. Just go b6 and open my bishop. Seems like a good idea. So maybe knight e4 was over anxious because, yeah, this is actually a little bit annoying. But I still think I have quite a comfortable position. So let's... How aggressive do I want to be here? I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to play bishop a6 and try to... I'm ready to sacrifice a pawn to stop him from castling. So if he plays bishop e4, d, queen e4, I think that's very dangerous for him. All right, so now I can take this, and yeah, this structure is like, it's kind of dangerous for white, but at the same time I need to complete my development, so it's not that straightforward for me. I still think black is pretty comfortable here though, so because of his weaknesses on the queen side. Knight d2, sure. Okay, so let's see. Do I want to play queen a6 or b5? Let's go b5 and stop him from playing any c4. If he plays e4, I'm not really scared. I mean, I guess in theory he could try for some kind of rook e3 and try to mate me, but I have a hard time believing that would work. And now I'm very happy. I think that knight is quite badly placed on b3. It was better on d2 where it kept the c4 square under control. And lent support to e4. So here, I'm just thinking, how do I want to play this? I think knight f6 is a good start. Let him figure out how he wants to deal with this pawn tension. If he plays e5, knight e4 is not great. f3, queen c4, take, fe4, cb3, ab3, and white's good. So e5, I have to bring the knight back, but I'm not super scared of that either. And then maybe he can just go rook e3 and caveman style mate me, but I find it hard to believe. Yeah, okay, so he was not in such an aggressive mood. Let's go rook fc8 and just get ready for c5 later. F3 I really think was a bad decision. Like, if he's going to play e5 anyway, then he should have at least left the third rank open so that he could lift the rook and try to mate me, because that's the only real plan white has. He's completely busted on the queen side, but my queen is sort of misplaced, and he could have tried to just caveman style mate, but now that he has played f3, this is no longer on the cards, and I think that he's sort of crushed on the queen side and losing on time. So let's take d4, and if he takes the pawn, my thought was bishop b4 would take his stuff, so let's crash through, and I think I got this one. I think I actually blundered rook a1 there, but it still would have won. Alright, so let's just be pragmatic and boring, take the rook. I could have taken g2 and tried to mate him, but get the queen behind the pawn and get the rook in as well, and that is quite enough. b4. Are we still playing? Okay. I don't think I'm going to flag in this one. All right. So there we go. Another case of the Semi-Slav doing all right. Okay, so Alekhine Battery. Have I already played with you? I don't think so. So let's play with Alekhine Battery. All right, so Semi-Slav again. What can I do? Don't take on d5. Don't be a chicken. Good. Ah, he heard me. Okay. Yeah, so this will be a less interesting game, but maybe I can still drum up something fun. I don't know. I mean, I hate to admit it, but the exchange Slav is actually a pretty decent chance to fight for an edge. I don't think it's white's best option, but it's it's fine. And the annoying, there's a lot of variations that white can play to just be a massive chicken and like you're always completely fine. But the exchange Slav is actually a little bit tougher than people used to give it credit for. But at least here, while this guy might have played the opening like a chicken, he's not playing the middle game like one. He's put the king on e2, so I applaud him for that. But now I'm going to take his piece with e5, e4. So I guess he has to play bishop g5 and then e4, bishop g4, but now he's just losing a piece. So Batman says he has a line against the Semi-Slav. Maybe I'll accept him next and see if he can do me any damage and kill all my sales for the foreseeable future. All right, so I'll take the piece, and now I should be routinely winning. Piece up and white's king is going to come under massive fire. Sure. All right. I mean, I probably should be an adult and play queen d7, but I'm going to go and try to mate it instead. All right. King f1. Okay. I'm going to be boring and play queen d5 right after I said I was going to try to mate him. All right. So he can take a second pawn if he wants, but he's completely blockaded and absolutely lost. All right. So take on f3, and this should be ending the game very, very shortly. I don't think white will survive. I think it will be less than 5 moves to mate. Okay, he has resigned. All right, so Batman claims he has a line against the Semi-Slav. Maybe I can find if he's challenging me. All right. Let's see. But he might end up playing black. Now you got white. Okay, let's see what Batman can do to me. All right. If it's c takes d5, I'm going to be deeply annoyed. But no. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. Knight f3, knight b7. I'm still following my chessable course. Okay, bishop d6, b3 first. Sure, so castle. Bishop b2, I think you're supposed to play e5. Bishop b2 is, I think, inaccurate. All right, so this is the thing that I lost twice to Jorge Corey, even though it's just a bad move and white's much worse already. But he should probably play g4 and throw stuff at me, but it just doesn't work. I mean, I lost because I'm an idiot, not because this works for white. CD, okay. And white has no space. He has to make something very direct happen very fast, or else he's just going to be much worse. All right, so do I care about him taking that bishop? Probably not. Knight b6 or knight f8. Let's go knight f8, I guess. And then, so knight f8. And then he will play like rook c1, I guess. And then bishop f5. Take on d6, take queen c7. It's actually annoying. Okay, bishop b8 doesn't help because he's just going to play rook c1 anyway. I have to figure out where I'm moving this knight. Let's go to b8, actually. I think blocking the c file makes a lot of sense because that's his only real source of counterplay, and if he's left with this idiot bishop, it's not good. So, of course, I'm not going to let him wake up the bishop and trade queens while I'm at it. Okay, so bishop a3 looks nice, but is pointing at absolutely nothing. And he has a bad bishop. I'm ready for bishop g4 next to get the bishop pair in half. And then rook c8 is coming at some point. Batman, you said you had a line in the Semi-Slav. I'm deeply disappointed in you. I thought it was going to be something feistier than this. Okay, so I can't play bishop g4, but I'm ready with rook c8 soon. Okay, so rook c8. Rook c1, sure. All right. Let's see. Queen d7, queen d6 is a little annoying. I don't really want to trade queens. It's not the end of the world by any stretch, but let's start with h5 and gain some space on the king side. It's probably a stupid move, but that's okay. I'm tempted to play knight h7 next and meet bishop h5 with queen g5 and go try to give mate. Rook fd1. So he's calling my bluff. If knight h7, queen d6 is maybe his idea. Alright, I gotta pick up the pace. I'm playing too slow. My biggest danger here is flagging, not losing on the board, so I have to play faster. So queen g5, and now this is starting to look very, very dangerous for white. Bishop takes h3 is not a small threat, but how does he deal with it? King h2 is probably like an only move. But, okay, king h1. Now let's bring the queen to h4 because bishop takes h3 could be, because now I'm threatening to take on f2 as well as h3. If king g1, then bishop takes h3 and knight g5 is almost certainly made. So I think this is not working for white. Knight g3. All right, he's tempting me, so I'm going to go for it. It might not work, but we'll find out. So take, and then my thought was after h4, the knight will get hit. If bishop e1, I have queen g4, and if the knight moves away, I have rook e6. All right, so he's ready to just go to some entirely lost endgame as sort of a last-ditch attempt, but I don't think I'm going to get flagged, so I should be good to go. But yeah, this endgame is very much hopeless for white. His bishops are not very good, and just as I said that I blundered bishop g4, but it's probably not such a big deal. His bishops are not great, and the extra pawn is really, really good, and my knights are well placed. So yeah, bishop g4, he missed the boat on that one. And here, black is a very healthy pawn up. So if bishop a6 was his big idea, I didn't think it worked, but okay, so actually you have to be a little bit careful. Let's go knight f3. I think this is good enough. Look for counterplay. All right, so check. If I go rook h1 check next, this looks totally over. He will get to take on d5, which is not great, but that's okay. He didn't even take it. Oh my god, that's a mess slip. Okay, I'm just going to resign this. I don't feel like flagging him. I deserve to lose for a mess. All right, I was definitely winning, of course, if I take on c6 very routinely, but it's good game, Batman. I'm sure that's not how you were hoping to beat the Semi-Slav, but hey, a win is a win, right? Okay, so Almager 88. That was a high rating. Let's do that. Yeah, guys, I don't do the whole flagging mouse slip business. That's just not me. So anyhow, let's go e4 with Almager and see what goes on here. I've been trying to play d4 to advertise the d4 course, but nobody is playing sidelines, which is a good thing. But yeah. All right, so what do people do now? I guess Spanish. All right, so let's be boring and take on c6. Bishop d6, is that a move here? I thought d4 was supposed to be pretty good now. f6, really? Is this supposed to be okay for black? Can I not take e5? Let's find out. Yeah, guys, I never understood people who flag each other online in like lost positions or whatnot. I mean, if a couple of online rating points are that important to you, I think you have the wrong priorities in life. All right, so here e5, bishop f3, queen f3, bishop e5, rook e1, castle, rook takes f5, knight d7, queen b3 check, and I win. What am I missing? e5, bishop f3, queen f3, bishop e5, rook e1. How do we save the bishop? You have to try castle, rook e5. Yeah, okay, e5 is winning. Rook e1, and I'm controlling the d1 square. So yeah, this should be good to go. So Gustafsson gave bishop d6, but it's almost certainly good. I don't play the exchange Spanish. I mean, nobody who really respects themselves should. But well, I did once in a game, and I got like the best possible version of the exchange Spanish you could get, and I still like almost lost the game. All right, so let's see. Knight d7. If bishop f4, castle queen b3, then he's okay. So I have to start with queen h5 check. And here, I guess if he plays king f8, I don't actually win a piece. He could have played king f8 and I wouldn't have won a piece, but I still would have been totally winning, just because it was king safety. So check and now check. And okay, I got this one under control. Rook e8, I have queen f4 check, and this game is very much over. All right. Okay, so a good game to Almager. I think something went wrong in the opening. If you played bishop d6, you're probably supposed to take on d4 and then play f6. And I guess Jan disagrees with, or has a better idea than I do. All right, let's see. We have time for a few more, so accept. Yeah, guys, I lost 2 games, one on time and one on mouse slip, but I'm looking forward to somebody beating me on the board. All right, so let's see. Queen's Gambit accepted. Can I play b3 next white game? I don't know, maybe. We'll see who I'm playing with. All right, QGA is a really underrated opening. Like at some point, Caruana was playing it every game and never losing, and then he just stopped doing it for some reason, but I guess nobody ever figured out why. But if you're confused on move 3 in the QGA, maybe that's not a good sign. Should take c4. Okay, so let's just invent something new. This looks extremely stupid, but I'm in inventive mode. So castles, and let's go. Okay, so c5, and now, why did I put my knight on e2? I feel like such a knucklehead now. Let's go b3, I guess. One f3, 2 knight a3. Come on, guys, that's not me. I have my opinions about people who do that, but so I'm hoping that my knight on e2 is not too much of a detriment to my position, but it might be. Solid choice though. Jobava plays it a lot. Those two things do not. There's a logical problem in that statement. Yeah, okay. So here I'm realizing why this knight on e2 is stupid, because if I play knight takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, he can play e5. That is a big issue. So I've just played a completely stupid game. But that's okay. I'll take with the e-pawn and not let that happen. And I think my brilliant knight e2 move. Guys, to which city of the Netherlands do I live? I live in Walnut Creek, California. I have absolutely no idea why I have a Dutch flag. I think it's because I first made my Chess24 account when I was recording a series in the Netherlands. And so just because my IP was Dutch, and I think Pascal tried to change it to an American flag at some point, but for whatever reason, I'm stuck with a Dutch flag, which I don't really care. It's not like I'm playing for the Dutch Federation or like switching feds or anything silly like that. All right, so let's try to attack him with my brilliant bishop on b2. And set my flag in my profile. This brilliant opening novelty knight e2 is definitely not brought the desired results. I'm attacking without my rook on a1 or my bishop on b2. There's a 0% chance this attack is sound, but I'm throwing my stuff at his king and hoping for the best. All right, queen e7. Does he want to play bishop a3 and trade off my bad bishop? Because that would be nice. Okay, let's go knight g4 and challenge this knight a bit. My profile settings flag. Maybe I can figure that out if I someday when I decide it's worth my time. Yeah, guys, I play e4 just as often as d4. I'm ambidextrous. I don't just stick to d4. h5. That is a move I'm very happy to see, because now I can actually pretend to have some initiative. So take on f6, knight f6, and then just debating if I want to take f6 or if I want to go knight back to e5. I think I should take f6, but it's still not that easy. Let's take f6, and then I'll start with knight g3 to try to compromise the pawn structure. Although, come to think of it, he might take with the queen and just sack a pawn, and yeah, he did. Okay, so he sacked a pawn, and like my position is strategically extremely stupid, but I am a pawn up, so at least I have something for my stupid pieces. So here my thought is knight g3, rook h8, h3, and maybe it's not so bad. I don't know. There's a fair chance I'm just going to get myself mated in like 3 more moves, but let's see, what can I do now? Knight e4 is not working, of course. h3, my whole point was to try to play knight e4 next. If h3, rook h4, knight e4, rook g4, knight f6, I don't see the win after rook g2. Wait, rook g2, king g2, knight f4, king g1 is mate. I'm probably just going to get myself mated in like 3 more moves, but let's see. Could play bishop e4 so that I can get my queen to f3. That looks like a pretty good way to defend, and it neutralizes his bishop. All right, let's go bishop e4. The problem is like this endgame, even if he just trades queens and sixes, rook on c2, like despite the pawn down, I think black is clearly better. Rook f4, he doesn't even want the ending. Okay, so queen e2. This is very dangerous for me. Rook h8. Am I about to get brutalized? Probably, but let's see. I cannot play bishop c1 because of knight c3. Guess let's start with h3 to overprotect the h-file and try to avoid deadly sacrifices. I have a feeling I should be totally checkmated here, but it doesn't seem at least that easy for black to execute. So let's start with rook c1. But knight f4, queen f3, knight takes h3 is bad news. Very bad news. Knight f4, I cannot play d5. So let's see, knight f4, queen f3, knight h3, gh3, queen f3, bishop f3, bishop f3, d5 maybe. Right, so queen g5, I'm not sure I understand the point. I guess he wants to take on g3. That feels like the wrong decision. This is so bad for me. Knight f4 still looks very scary. All right, let's go rook c2 and overprotect the second rank. And I'm potentially ready for bishop c1 next. If knight f4, at least I can throw d5 and hope for the best. All right, so d5. e5, and now at least I've shut down his bishop for a move, which may or may not help, but okay, let's go queen e3, I guess. I wrote that Ali Reza will be world champion in 4 years. I think if you believe anybody other than Magnus will be world champion in 4 years, I have a very strong suspicion you're wrong. Okay, so queen b6, and I don't see the mate. So let's see, rook h3, gh3. No, take with the knight? No, the knight was the best attacker. You can't do that. Okay, hang on. Rook h1 is mate next move, though, so I do have to be a little bit careful. I guess rook fc1. Yeah, should do it. Yeah, I almost played Queen d6 and blundered Rook h1 and Queen h2, but if he sacrifices his knight on f4, which was his best attacker, I don't think he's going to mate me. All right, so there I take with the knight, I guess. I don't see it. My king runs and I win. Okay, so this one I definitely should have lost, but I seem to have survived. All right, let's see who else wants to play. Fancy. Okay, we got another IM. Let's see, this guy's. Let's go. People are asking about e4, so I'll play e4 here. 5, f3. Okay, so last time I played this stupid bishop c6 move, so let's not do it again. Let's play a more mainline. d6. Okay, I have, of course, absolutely no clue what to play here. So I'm just gonna, I don't know, let's go h3 and challenge this bishop. Wow. I know absolutely nothing about chess. h5. Okay, so I'll go, I guess I should take on c6 and not let him play knight d4. So I've always been taught to smash the center if your opponent goofs around on the side of the board. So I'm going to try to do that here. Like if he plays ed4, I might like play rook e1 and get ready for e5 next. But yeah, this, of course, I have absolutely no clue about this bishop g4, h3, h5. But at least what I've done feels logical to me, even if it's totally stupid. Actually, if ed4, I can maybe play hg, knight g5, f6, queen takes g4. All right, so he takes that way, but this feels so wrong. Like e5 and... Nah, come on. We're blowing up the center and black is not castled. So I guess, how do I want to start this? I can start with rook e1 maybe. And I'm ready for bishop g5 next. And okay, so despite the pawn down, I think my position is very, very good. So knight a3, f6, sure. I guess rook back to e1. Seems natural enough. And let's go like bishop f4. Bring the pieces to good squares. Knight g6, knight c4. And if queen f5, I think I can take on c6. Oh, did I just blunder the piece? That'd be depressing. I did just blunder a piece for just dead nothing. That's literally just a piece. Like a full piece for absolutely nothing. Okay, I guess I gotta just play down a piece and hope for the best. That's not a good sign. Alright, so rook's in the center. This guy might be the first one to beat me on the board today. So that one feels a little desperate. Like, if I take on d5, rook takes d4, do I take a second pawn? Nah, it just goes rook c8. Alright, let's go queen d3. I'm very much lost here. Okay, so I guess c3. Just try to open something up. I mean, I don't even know why I'm still playing this game, but I am. Okay, sure. Should back to h2. Maybe I should have gone to g3 to provoke him to play h4 so that he wouldn't have knight h4. But okay, that one, now I'm actually wondering if the endgame is that terrible for me. I mean, I'm sure it's lost, but now that he's actually given himself, I'm getting the 7th rank, and he's given himself a pawn weakness, and in fact, am I just taking it with rook e4? No, I'm not. He has rook d8. But at least I thought here maybe I can try. King f1. I mean, I'm sure I'm just lost here, but this does not look that easy. Like, I'm a piece down, but his pawns are sort of weak and hanging, and his knight is really bad. I'm sure I'm lost, but... Okay, so that's probably a good move. So if I take on e5, I'm very much dead. Okay, I guess I have to play king e2. If he plays knight d3, I can play rook d8 and then b4. But I'm just so busted here, I don't even know why I'm way down on time on b4. And take this, a4. Yeah, all right, we're done here. All right, I lost a game on the board, so good game to, hang on, where's the resign button? Oh, there it is, okay. Good game to Fancy 29. I think that was a very dubious opening, but I did manage to blunder a piece. All right, so got time for one more game. Let's play with Naruto. He seems to have a high rating, so good challenge. All right, Naruto, let's see what you got for me. Okay, so still playing the trustable repertoire. What are we gonna do now? Okay, this was from the part 2 course, English Reti and Sidelines. Let's see if I can make any kind of decent advertisement for it with hopefully reasonable play here. Okay, so now we're just back to a proper semi-Slav. So, bishop e2, sure, let's go b6 and bishop b7, and now castle queen e7, and the rule is black's rooks follow whites, so whenever white moves a rook to a square, black should move the rook to the same square. So let's do that. h3, okay, I don't get it, so I'm just going to play h6 and see. Guys, I try to play with lots of people. I've played with a wide range of opponents today. Yeah, so here I've accepted a hanging pawn structure, but I think this is a pretty reasonable one for black for two reasons. One, white's kingside is a little bit compromised by the h3 move, and secondly, the rook on e1 is kind of misplaced. He would much rather have that rook on c1 here. And this kind of thing, it's interesting. It's not clear if, I mean, the computer, I think, gives white a very small advantage, but I don't think it's much. And I think that black has totally reasonable chances here. And it's, I think, easier to play from black's side as well. You can just sort of put pieces in the general direction of white's king and hope the rest sorts itself out. Knight h4. Okay, so that's not a subtle move. He wants knight f5. If g6, am I scared of the sacrifice? I don't think so. Take everything, queen g7, and there's no way I'm getting mated. So I'm going to play g6. And this also means the e5 square is free for my knight. Okay, so he just wants to come right back. Apparently provoking g6 was that big a deal. I'm not sure why. All right, let's tuck the bishop away on b8. So now that he has played knight a4, that is basically begging for knight e4, so I'm going to play it. In general here, yeah, so he wants to trade off a pair of pieces, which does make some sense, but I still think my position is pretty reasonable. Rook C1, sure. So maybe he heard me about the other rook being misplaced, and he can bring it to D1 next. Okay, that I don't get, because I think my rook was happy going to D8 anyway. Okay, so let's see. Let's kick this bishop first. Bishop back to F1, sure. Let's go H5, just gain a little space. Okay, this is Banter Blitz, and that is a very tempting move to start throwing stuff at. So am I going to throw stuff? Yeah, I'm going to start throwing stuff. D4, and then E takes D4, knight takes G3, and roll the dice, but this looks very dangerous for white. So rook E1, queen D6, I guess, is a good move. And then G3 is hanging. Queen F2, he defends it. If take, rook E3, he's sort of winning. So maybe I've just grossly misplayed this, but still this looks so dangerous for white. But maybe I'm just losing. So at queen D5, he has to play bishop G2. Nah, I've misplayed this, so now white is okay. I still think I'm fine here. I mean, I think I have enough activity that despite the pawn down, I should be more or less okay. In fact, I'm probably better. I mean, he has too much hanging stuff. So there, let's go. What do I do? Knight F6, knight B4. Let's go knight B4. The knight will be good on C6. Or on D3 if he wants to let it get there. Alright, so let's go here. C3, F5. Trying to mate me. Not gonna work. Yeah, okay, this game got really messy, but I'm sure that there were lots of blunders in that complicated phase, but that's sort of what you can expect in this line. In classical chess, you could play it more. So I'm going to play one last one. I'll make it a 3-minute game and against somebody a bit lower. Let's go with NSBJK, and then this will be the last one, and we'll call it a day. All right, so let's go E4. And I'm happy to answer any questions in the chat in the meantime. But all right, so let's see if the Borland. Okay, let's play the stupid queen E2 move and see if he knows what to do. I don't think that's right. Okay, so take a knight C3 and kind of low. Doesn't that lose a pawn? I think so. Take. Yeah, I'm just pawn up. He had to take with the bishop on C6, and then I was planning to play knight C3 when I thought my space advantage in the center would mean more than the slight, well, the bishop pair, and I would be ready with bishop G5 and stuff. But now I'm just a pawn up. I can, for example, here take on C6, and then to take a second pawn and gaining time as well because I have knight D4 to go attack that bishop. Do I have a different outlook on quicker time format? I mean, honestly, I don't love that everything is getting so fast, because one thing I like about classical chess is I think there's a very healthy balance in terms of how far talent will get you and how much is about hard work. While I think that balance in rapid chess skews heavily towards more talented players and heavily against hard workers. And there's a reason that all the best blitz players are the talented guys, and the hard workers tend to be more classical types. And we all know which category I belong to. So just on a personal note, I don't love that there's so much rapid. But when it's online, you don't really have a choice. Oh, I just blundered mate in 2 in the meantime. All right, good game. I think that's a good way to end it. All right, so I guess I have to hit the resign button. So good game to NSBJK. Thanks everybody for watching, and I guess I will see y'all later at another Banter Blitz session.